Alright, guys, I hope we're live. Welcome to 4th and 25. I hope you're having a wonderful January 19th. Hope you're having a great afternoon. Welcome into 4th and 25, our final episode before tonight's national championship game between Miami and Indiana. We got a lot to get into. We're going to celebrate the postseason. We're going to look back on that. We'll talk a little more about the transfer portal, a couple other little news and notes. And then, of course, we will pick who we think is going to win this showdown here tonight in South Florida between these two for the national championship. Welcome aboard. All right, so we're going to do a special weekend review, but it's for the postseason as we look back on the postseason. All right, so first things first, as we look back on the bowl season and the playoff, um, there's obviously an argument: are the playoff games bowl games? Are they not? That's debatable. Some people say they are, some say they ain't. Bowl season treats them as part of it. So, anyway, here we go. Let's start by honoring the offensive players of bowl season. Let me find it. Ooh. All right, so let's take a look back and let's celebrate the best of bowl season. We're going to start with our offensive players, best offensive performances of the postseason. Jordan Smith, wide receiver at South Carolina State, he had a great game in the Celebration Bowl against Prairie View A&M. He had 9 catches for 152 and 2 touchdowns, so averaged nearly 17 yards per catch. Then in the Hawaii Bowl, how about Pofel Ashlock, the receiver for the Warriors against Cal, 14 catches for 123, 2 touchdowns, 8.8 a catch. He had a heck of a game. Fenway Bowl, God's Power Nawawi, Army quarterback. He had a great bowl game. He had 12 carries for 171 and 2 touchdowns, 14.3 yards per carry. He had a heck of a game. This might have been the best overall performance of the bowl season, but this duo, Caleb Hawkins and Ashton Gray, they were running backs at North Texas. Now they're both, of course, gone to other schools. I know Caleb Hawkins has gone to Oklahoma State, but as far as this bowl game goes, Hawkins had 31 carries for 198, 2 touchdowns, 6.4 yards per carry. He ended up with 25 touchdowns on the year. Man was a savage. Gray had 16 carries for 152 and 2 touchdowns, 9.5 yards per carry. So those two tore it up in the New Mexico Bowl for North Texas when they beat San Diego State. ReliaQuest Bowl. How about a tight end making this list? DJ Vanahim, I guess, of Iowa, 7 catches for 146, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, nearly 21 yards a catch. You know, Iowa produces good tight ends, as we all know. In the Sun Bowl, how about a trio getting some recognition here? Darian Mensah, the quarterback, he threw for 327 and 4 touchdowns. More on him later. Nate Shepard, running back, had 22 carries for 170 and a score, a couple of catches. And then their talented receiver, Keyshawn Brown, he had 10 catches for $178, 2 touchdowns. In the Citrus Bowl, of course, Arch Manning, I thought, played phenomenal in their bowl game. He threw for 221 and 2 scores, run for 155 and 2 scores. Ended up totaling 376 yards of offense and 4 touchdowns for the Longhorns. Let me find the rest of my list. Kind of got ahead of myself there. Sorry about that. Let me find it. Just bear with me. I meant to post the rest of change my photo, but I didn't, of course, because I'm an idiot. Just a second. Okay, Las Vegas Bowl. Devin Dampier, Utah QB, throws for 310 and 2 touchdowns. Runs for 148 and 3 scores. He totals the Las Vegas Bowl with 458 yards of offense, 5 touchdowns. He balled out for Utah against Nebraska. He's back next season. Huge news for the Utes. Of course, Trinidad Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback, he is on here. Gotta find it. There he is. He goes for 362 yards and 2 touchdowns for Ole Miss in their Sugar Bowl win over Georgia. And then Robbie Ashford, quarterback at Wake Forest, he makes the final spot on my offensive players of bowl season, throwing for 303 and 3 scores, running for 50 and 2 scores, totaling 350 yards and 5 touchdowns. All right, so that's the offensive players of bowl season. Now, let's move over to defensive performances of bowl season. We're going to start with Jeremy Mack Jr., linebacker at Old Dominion. He had a great cure bowl against USF. He had 11 tackles, 10 solos, a sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. In the Xbox Bowl, I gave a shout out to the entire Arkansas State defense. They went against Missouri State for 8 sacks, 14 tackles for loss, holding them to 47 rushing yards, and a couple of turnovers forced. So Arkansas State, your whole defense makes the best defensive performances of the bowl season. And the Gasparilla Bowl, Caden Fordham of NC State, really good linebacker. He had 13 tackles, 5 solos, 13 total. He had an interception and 1.5 tackles for loss. He had a great game in their win over Memphis. And then in the first round of the playoff, you see a couple of Miami kids. Keontae Scott, their DB, 10 total tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss against A&M. And then Ruben Bain Jr., he had 5 total, 4 solo, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. Miami had 7 sacks in that win over A&M in the first round of the playoff, and 3 turnovers forced. In the Rate Bowl, we have Maverick Bernowski, linebacker at Minnesota. This guy had 17 total tackles. He was a tackling machine for the Gophers in their bowl win over New Mexico. 13 solos, 17 total, sack, and a tackle for loss. Let me find the rest of my guys. These pictures are out of whack. Sorry about that. But it is what it is. Now, the other Minnesota player, Anthony Smith, he had 6 total tackles, 6 solos, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 passes deflected. And then in the Independence Bowl, Safa Leota, I'm sorry if I butcher his name, linebacker at Louisiana Tech. He had 10 total tackles, 9 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss in their Independence Bowl win over Coastal Carolina. In the Citrus Bowl, Anthony Smith, linebacker at Texas, 9 total tackles, 8 solos, a tackle for loss, and 2 big interceptions for the Longhorns as they beat Michigan in the Citrus Bowl. In the Cotton Bowl playoff quarterfinal, another Miami shout-out, Akeem Mesidor, 5 total, 5 solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss for the Canes in their win over Ohio State. In the Orange Bowl, we had a couple of guys from Oregon. DB Brandon Finney Jr., he had 6 total tackles, 4 solos, 4 fumble recovery, and 2 interceptions for the Ducks in their win over Texas Tech. And then Tito Tuoti, I'm sorry if I say his name wrong, linebacker, 6 total tackles, 6 solos, 2 sacks, and 2 tackles for loss. All right, and then finally, from the Duke's Mayo Bowl, let's give a shout-out to Nick Anderson, DB at Wake Forest, 12 total tackles, 6 solos, a sack, and a tackle for loss for Wake Forest as they beat Mississippi State. All right, so let's keep her going here to our best special teams players of bowl season. And we'll keep going here. Punter Elliott Janish of South Carolina State. He had a great celebration bowl in the win over Prairie View. 7 punts and 47.4 yard average, a touchback. 3 of his kicks went inside the 20, long of 65. Cole Menard of Western Kentucky in the New Orleans Bowl when he beat Southern Miss. He had 6 punts, 45.7 yard average. 3 of them went inside the 20, long of 56. In the Arizona Bowl, kicker Dylan Lynch of Fresno State, 4 or 5 on his field goals, long of 37, 12 points total. He scored 12 of Fresno State's 18 points in that win over Miami, Ohio. In the Gator Bowl, let's give Will Bedridge, the kicker at Virginia. He was 2 out of 3 on field goals, long of 42, made an extra point. He scored 7 of Virginia's 13 total points. Independence Bowl, John Hoyt chanced the punter at La Tech against Coastal. He had that goes to Coastal Carolina. 8 punts, 49.5 yard average. 2 of his kicks went inside the 20, long of 56. Okay, and then Let me find. Here we go. From the Sun Bowl, Cade Reynoldson, the punter at Duke, 5 punts, 45.2-yard average, 2-1 inside the 20, long of 51. In the Cotton Bowl, Dylan Joyce of Miami, he had a great game against Ohio State in their win. 4 punts, 46.3-yard average, 2-1 inside the 20, long of 60. From the Orange Bowl, Oregon's kicker, Atticus Sappington, 3 of 4 on field goals, long of 50, made both extra points, scored 11 points total out of Oregon's 23 points. In the Sugar Bowl, Lucas Canero, Ole Miss's kicker, 3 of 3 on field goals, made one for 56, both extra points, 11 total points. And then finally, let's give a little love to the return game. Cordell Bartley of Wake Forest, he had 2 returns, a 100-yard kickoff return for the Deacons as they knocked off Mississippi State. All right, so that is the best of bowl season as far as offensive, defensive, and special teams goes. Now, we're going to shift our attention here. I'm getting rid of some of these graphics. Hopefully it doesn't slow this computer down. Okay. All right, guys. So, next up, what were the best bowl games? What were the best games of the postseason, in your opinion? So, I'd love to hear some feedback on this. If anybody has any they would like to give, I decided to do my top. Let me pull my page up here real quick in my notes. All right. What were your favorite bowls? So, we're going to start with my top 10 non-playoff bowls. These were the best of the non-playoff bowls, in my opinion. Like I say, feedback is welcome. Would love some. And a tie for 10th, I had the Rape Bowl, Minnesota beating New Mexico in overtime. That was a great game. Was pulling for the Lobos. What a season they had. But Minnesota, as you know, under PJ Fleck, they bring it in the bowl games. Texas Bowl, Houston comes from behind to beat LSU 38-35. That's a good win for the Big 12, but it would have been a bad loss because you lost to a 7-win LSU or an LSU team that didn't have a lot of their guys, but it was still a good game. At number 9, the Citrus Bowl, Texas and Michigan. That was fun, 41-27. Oh, I got a comment. My sweet son-in-law. Hey, Mama, love you. All right, love you so much. Number 9, the Citrus Bowl, Texas over Michigan. This was fun, 41-27. Was a closer game, but then it kind of came apart for Michigan in the fourth quarter. ReliaQuest Bowl, Iowa and Vandy. I was so excited for this game, and it actually was. It started out looking like Iowa might blow them out, but then Diego and Vandy made a run. But Iowa hung on to win at 34-27. Music City Bowl is number 7 on my list. Illinois over Tennessee, 30-28. I thought this was a good game. Was pulling for Tennessee, of course, but hey, shout out to Illinois. They brought it. They bring it in these bowl games. Good job, Brett Bielema and his crew. Number 6, the Celebration Bowl, South Carolina State, Prairie View A&M. Fun game. This game was wild. Went to 4 overtimes. South Carolina State wins at 40-38. Controversial call in overtime where a 2-pointer was rewarded to South Carolina State that many did not think they got, but it is what it is. Number 5, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, BYU over Georgia Tech, 25-21. This was a good game. Oh, man. The Pop-Tarts Bowl is the best non-playoff bowl as far as atmosphere, marketing, all of that. I don't care what anybody says. Good game, though. Came down to the end. The Alamo Bowl checks in at 4. TCU beating USC in overtime, 30-27. This was a great game. TCU's Seals boy comes in at quarterback and leads them to a great win. I thought USC was going to get them, but TCU got them. And then number 3, the Hawaii Bowl. This was a good game on Christmas Eve. Hawaii beats Cal 35-31. That was a fun game. Number 2, the Sun Bowl. Another great game. Duke over Arizona State, 42-39. The ACC champs in the Sun Bowl. That still sounds weird, but good game. Duke won it. And then finally, my number 1 best non-CFP bowl goes to the New Mexico Bowl. This game was crazy. North Texas 49, San Diego State 47. I didn't think San Diego State could score that many points, but they did. 49-47, high-scoring game. That game was a lot of fun. All right, moving on. Next up, let's take a look at our most disappointing bowl games. I decided to do my top 5 on this list because it was kind of hard to pick some of them because, with opt-outs and the portal and coaching changes, you just really don't know what to expect anymore in these games. Are they going to be around much longer? We'll see. We might get an answer later this week. Who knows? But anyway, number 5, the First Responder Bowl, UTSA clobbering FIU 57-20. This game was actually closer at the start, but UTSA really got it going. Really got it going. The Fenway Bowl, Army and UConn, kind of a dud, 41-16. That was Army winning. I think UConn had some late opt-outs. Obviously, they had a coaching change. Shout out to their receiver, Skylar Bell. I think he started the game. He was a really good player, but I think he bailed on him at halftime or something. But anyway, the Cure Bowl was third, Old Dominion in South Florida. Congrats to Old Dominion, but this could have been such a good quarterback battle had Byron Brown played for USF and Colton Joseph played for Old Dominion, but they both jumped in the portal. Uh, so that kind of hurt it. But the quarterback for ODU, I can't remember the young man's name, he had a really good game leading them to this win. Number 2, the LA Bowl. Washington destroyed Boise 38-10. It's kind of a dud. Seems like we see Washington play Boise every other year, but Boise had some guys out too. So, and then finally, the most disappointing bowl game, in my opinion, was the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Western Michigan destroying Kennesaw State 41-6. This was anticipated because it was 2 of the G6 champions. You had the MAC champion and you had Conference USA's champion. I thought it'd be a much better game. I think a lot of us did, but Western Michigan just destroyed them, and a lot of their pieces are coming back. So keep an eye on Western Michigan next season. But that's my most disappointing bowl games. And then, as you see at the next up, the first round playoff games. I ranked them from 4 to 1, best to worst. 3 and 4, you could debate. I don't know. But number 4 was Tulane and Ole Miss. We all expected Ole Miss to win that game. Of course, the argument over should a G5 or G16 be in the playoff, is what it is. Ole Miss rolled that game 41-10. Number 3 was James Madison and Oregon. Oregon wins at 51-34. Another one, of course, first time ever we had 2 G5 teams in the playoff, but we did. This game was not even as close as the score indicates. Oregon really let the foot off the gas at halftime. Don't let that score fool you. I know James Madison had 500 yards of offense, but in the second half, Oregon just played flat. They knew they were going to win. Number 2 was Alabama and Oklahoma. Oklahoma jumps up on them. I think it was 17-0 or 10-0. But anyway, they jumped up on them by double digits. And there was really fear. There was worry that Oklahoma was supposed to run Bama right out of the game, out of the stadium. But Bama roared back and got it done. That was a good win for Bama, for Kalen DeBoer and his team to get a playoff win, even though we know what happened in the Rose Bowl. And then number 1, the best first-round game was Miami and A&M, in my opinion. I know 10-3 sounds boring as hell, but it was windy. The conditions were crazy as how windy it was. It was really tough to throw a forward pass, it sounds like, but it was low-scoring, defensive. Miami's defense, of course, balled out. But this was a good game, and it was highly anticipated. But that was my number 1. Okay, so next up, let's move to our last bowl ranking, and that is the CFP New Year's 6 bowls. All right, here we go. So, you rank them 1 to 6. The worst for me was the Orange Bowl. It was Oregon over Texas Tech, 23-0. Now, if you're an Oregon fan, of course, you love this, and rightfully so. But this game was so highly anticipated. So many people were talking about it, looking forward to it. The media was building it up. I thought it was going to be a great game. I know Texas Tech had a long layoff, but they weren't ready. Oregon's defense was amazing in this game, by the way. Crowd was kind of crappy, but it was because it was in Miami, too. So you're asking Oregon fans and Texas Tech fans to go all the way to South Beach. Could you imagine if this game had been in Lubbock, on an on-campus game? Ooh, man. Number 5 was the Rose Bowl. As you see, Indiana humiliates Alabama 38-3, and they humiliated them. I don't care what anybody says. That fan base is still reeling. Just destroyed them 38-3. That was very bad. Peach Bowl is at 4. Indiana splattering Oregon 56-22. You could argue 5 and 4, but At least Oregon found a touchdown, you know. But Indiana splattering Oregon. Number 3 was the Cotton Bowl. Miami over Ohio State, 24-14. I think that was the game where we all really realized, okay, Miami's really good, and they're on fire, and they could win the title. But they got it done. That was a good game. Miami's defense played well. And then finally, as an Ole Miss fan, it was kind of hard to do this because obviously I got my heart broken in the semifinals, but it was still a great game. And that's nothing. And Miami's a great team. So what I just decided to do, I put these two at number 1 because these were both great games. The Fiesta Bowl, Miami over Ole Miss, 31-27. Miami scores with under a minute left. Carson Beck, clutch game-winning drive. And then, of course, the Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss over Georgia, 39-34. That was a great game. Rebels pulled off the upset and sent them to the game with Miami. All right, so that is a wrap on the bowl part of our show. All right, so we are going to take our first break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk some news and notes, and we're going to talk about the transfer portal. We will see y'all in just a little bit. Hi guys, welcome back to 4th and 25. Just found out it was a little staticky. I apologize if it is. Might be my beard getting in my speakers. Who knows? Sorry about that. Hope you guys can hear me okay. All right, so let's move on and let's talk a little bit about, let's do some news and notes. Ohio State tight end Max Clare is opting to head to the NFL draft. He had 400 plus yards receiving, couple of scores, averaged over 10 yards a catch. He already joins a pretty loaded Buckeyes list that's going to the draft, along with receiver Cornell Tate, safety Caleb Downs, linebacker Orville Reese, DT Caden McDonald. So, big time, another loss there for the Buckeyes, but they'll reload. It's Ohio State after all. We know they reload. All right, next up. Colorado Star offensive tackle Jordan Seaton enters the transfer portal. This young man was a very highly talented prospect that the Buffalo signed, but he has entered the portal. He has a couple years eligibility remaining. We'll see where he goes. Interesting story here. UCLA alum leaves $17.3 million donation to football and the UCLA men's hoop programs. Let me find it real quick. I wrote it down here on the notes a little bit. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. He donated $9.6 million to the football program, $7.7 million to the men's basketball program. He's an alum there named Lawrence Lane. Lord knows that UCLA could use the money because they are in debt, from what I understand. So, next up, let's take a look at. Okay, here we go. FBS coaches vote unanimously to adjust the sports red shirt rule. This was another story that caught my attention. Players will be allowed to participate in up to 9 games while preserving a full year of eligibility if this passes. The current rule is 4 games. Some coaches even push for a full 5 seasons of eligibility, but potential legislation issues led to the 9-game compromise. However, this will still need approval from the NCAA D1 committee. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. Will they approve it? Who knows? But yeah, they're trying to change this red shirt rule to where you can participate in up to 9 games and still preserve a year of eligibility. All right, next up, let's do. Okay. Big news out of Salt Lake City. Utah quarterback Devin Dampier. He is coming back next season for Morgan Scalley and his team. He had a phenomenal first season with Utah after coming over from New Mexico. He was all Big 12. He threw for 2490 and 24 touchdowns, rushed for 835 and 10 scores. He totaled 3,325 yards of offense and 34 touchdowns. I love this quarterback. He's a phenomenal player. That is huge news for Utah. So a big bright spot as they head to the post Kyle Whittingham era. Another quarterback who's coming back, Dante Moore of Oregon. This is big news for the Ducks. Let's see. I just had it right here in front of me. Yeah, he threw for over 35, 65, and 30 touchdowns last year for the Ducks. Did not have a great game, obviously, against against Indiana in the semifinals, but he's got another year and he will be back. So another big quarterback coming back next season. All right, so let's move on and let's talk a little bit about the transfer portal. We are going to start with quarterbacks. What we'll do a quarterbacks list real quick, and then we're going to do a overall players list. Now, these are, of course, from the ESPN rankings. You know, you can use different ones. Oh, I just got news that says Big Ten and SEC still deadlocked on playoff expansion again, which we already knew that. All right, let's take a look at the portal. Yeah, we know Josh Pate. We know you want Miami to win. All right. So let's start with our best quarterbacks list. I apologize for the delay there. All right. That's not right. Okay. So as you see here, this list is a little different now because it's changed since Darren Mensah, the Duke quarterback, jumped in the portal. So what we'll do, I'm going to read their list, and you can just see this graphic right in front of me. So you've got Billy Edwards Jr. from Wisconsin. He's going to North Carolina. Nice get for Belichick to work with Gio Lopez. Jackson Arnold of UNLV. He comes over from Auburn. Maybe he can revitalize his career playing for Dan Mullen. We shall see. Eli Holstein of Pitt going to Virginia. Kind of surprised by that one, considering Virginia Tech also got Pubula, which we'll get to in a minute. Cutter Boley from Kentucky is next. He's going to Arizona State, giving Kenny Dillingham a quarterback to work with. Let's see. Ethan Grunkemeyer from Penn State going to Virginia Tech. Kind of expected that with James Franklin and Blacksburg. I'm very excited to see how that one turns out. Next up, you've got Alonzo Barnett III of UCF. He comes over from James Madison. He was the Sun Belt Player of the Year offensively, and I think League Player of the Year maybe. Had a phenomenal season. Let's see. Throwing for 2806, rushing for 589. He had 38 total touchdowns in their 12-2 season. He was a 2-year starter also at JMU, so pretty experienced. He has 1 year of eligibility left. You've got Caden Hauser, who is going to Illinois from East Carolina with a year of eligibility left. Pretty good player, too. Then you've got Bo Pubula, who we just talked about, who left Missouri. Was very surprised by this move. He's going to Virginia. He's got 1 year of eligibility left, so Virginia's got two QBs. Next up is Hudson Longstreet, who left USC. He's going to LSU. He's got a full 4 years of eligibility left. He obviously is not going to start because Sam Levitt's there now in Baton Rouge, but he can at least learn and develop behind him and learn under Lane Kiffin and Charlie Watts Jr. and those guys. All right. So next up, let me update the graphic real quick. Let's see. And I did not upgrade. Oh, I did not upload that picture. Okay. All right. Well, so we'll just kind of read them off here to you. Anthony Colandrea at 17 from UNLV. He's going to Nebraska. I like that move. Colton Joseph, we talked about him from Old Dominion. He's going to Wisconsin. He's got 2 years left. Austin Simmons, who left Ole Miss, he's going to Missouri. He's got 2 years left. I like that one. I'm very excited to see what Austin can do there. Deuce Knight, who left Auburn, he's going to Ole Miss. He's got 4 full years left. He'll obviously sit behind Trinidad Chambliss if Trinidad gets his eligibility year granted, but we'll see. Aaron Philo at 13 from Georgia Tech. He went to Florida. He's got 3 years left. You've got Aiden Childs of Michigan State. He's going to Northwestern. He's got a full year, 1 year left. He's been to Oregon State, Michigan State, now Northwestern. A surprising one here, Jaden Craig at 11. He's from Harvard, but he's going to TCU. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. He'll take over for Josh Hoover, who's obviously going to Indiana. More on him in a minute. Kenny Mitchie from Notre Dame. He's going to Kentucky. He's got 2 years left after a brief commitment to Nebraska. Not a lot of experience, but he's got 2 years left. DJ Lagway. Oh boy. He has officially signed with Baylor. He was at Florida. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. He's got to cut down his interceptions. He threw 14 interceptions last season, and his QBR was 14th among SEC quarterbacks at 59.5. We'll see how he works with Dave Aranda. Number 8 on this list was Dylan Raiola, who left Nebraska. He's headed to Oregon. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. He's obviously going to sit behind Dante Moore, and he's perfectly fine with that, so much respect. Number 7, I don't think this was a shocker, Rocco Beck. He left Iowa State. He went to Penn State to follow his coach, Matt Campbell. Be interesting to see how that goes. Josh Hoover, who we just talked about, left TCU. Not going to lie, I didn't see that one coming, but he goes to Indiana next year. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. Reload for the Hoosiers. Byron Brown, who left South Florida to go to Auburn, followed his coach, Alex Goesch. No surprise. Number 4, another no surprise, Drew Mestamaker from North Texas. He's on his way to Oklahoma State to play for Eric Morris. Dude tore it up last year, 4,379 yards, 34 touchdowns, and leading the program to a historic record 12 wins. This is, of course, the most recent addition to the QB list that nobody's seen. I don't think a lot of us saw coming. Darian Mensah from Duke. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. Duke literally just agreed to pay him $8 million last year, I believe was the number. And now he's back in the portal. He's in the portal. Keep an eye on Miami. Keep an eye on Miami in that one. Number 2, Sam Levitt. We just talked about this cat. He left Arizona State. He's going to LSU. He's got 2 years left. As long as he stays healthy, he'll do well. As an Ole Miss fan, I hate to say that, but he'll do well. He'll do well under Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss. And then finally, the number 1 quarterback in the portal has obviously been committed for a while now. Brendan Sorsby. He left Cincinnati. He's going to Texas Tech. It's my understanding it is a $5 million deal, so we shall see. Okay, so that's the quarterbacks list. Let's roll over to top 50 overall prospects. Let me pull my list up here real quick. Sorry about the delay there. Okay. Let me get this list up. Mensah is obviously on this list now since he's in the portal. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I appreciate the views. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all checking me out. I have Instagram. We have Facebook. We also have we even have a TikTok now. If y'all want to give me a follow at Jonathan Ramsey. All right, let's go to the top 50 prospects. Number 50, you see Isaiah Canyon, receiver. He left Georgia Tech to go to Georgia. You've got Toby Asanami, edge rusher. He left Kansas State to go to Indiana. That's going to be a good fit, I believe. Wendell Gregory, another good edge rusher. He left Oklahoma State to go to Kansas State. So I guess reload for the Cats. Number 48, a tight end, Luke Reynolds. He left Penn State, and I have not updated this, but he is officially committed to Virginia Tech. So Luke Reynolds, a really good tight end with 2 years of eligibility left. He will head to play for his old coach, James Franklin. We got J.J. Buchanan, who has moved in here. He is not on this list. I just now noticed that. J.J. Buchanan of Utah. He is headed to Michigan. He has 3 years of eligibility left at receiver. You got Terrell Anderson, wide receiver at NC State. He's going to USC. He's got 2 more years of eligibility. Receivers do really well at USC if you have not noticed. All right, next up, we've got Joe Bruner, offensive guard from Wisconsin. He's going to Indiana with 1 year of eligibility left. We've got Smith Snowden from Utah going to Michigan with 1 year left at cornerback. He will play for Kyle Whittingham, of course, following his old coach. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Safety Marcus Neal Jr. He left Iowa State to go to Penn State. One of what feels like 100 players that left Iowa State to go to Penn State to follow Matt Campbell. Nothing wrong with that. At 42, you see Benjamin Brahmer, tight end, another Iowa State kid, headed to Penn State. So, following his old coach. You've got Eric Singleton Jr., a talented receiver from Auburn. He's going to Florida. He's got 1 year left. Keyword Rasal, edge rusher from Alabama. He's going to Ohio State. 2 years of eligibility left. Devin Tompkins, a DT from USC. He's got 1 year left. He's on his way to Tuscaloosa to play. Tyon Gray, DT out of Oregon. He transferred to Notre Dame. He's got 3 years left. You've got, this is a G5 to Power 4 move I'm excited to see here. Adam Trick, an edge rusher from Miami, Ohio, on his way to Texas Tech. He's got 1 year left. He was an all-max selection last year. He had 59, let's see. Okay, he had a FBS high 73 pressures, 59 tackles, 12.5 for loss, 8.5 sacks, and a pick for the Red Hawks. Phenomenal player at Miami, Ohio. Can he transfer that to the Big 12 at Texas Tech? We shall see. Then you got John Tess Williams, cornerback out of Iowa State. He's on the way to USC with a year left. Khalil Barnes, safety from Clemson. He's headed to Georgia. He's got 1 year left. Let's see. He was a 30-game starter for the Tigers. 147 tackles, 16 breakups, and 7 picks. Pretty good addition. Another one I'm very interested to see, Ricardo Jones, another safety out of Clemson. He's on his way to Vanderbilt. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. He was a third-team All-ACC player for the Tigers, top 200 recruit. He had 46 tackles and 5 pass breakups for the Tigers. I like that pickup, by the way. Shout out to Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. Another safety, we've kind of talked about this cat, Todd Benfield from Boise State, headed to LSU with a year left. This one, offensive tackle Lance Hurd. He left Tennessee, went to Kentucky. He's got a year left. We've kind of, I think, talked about him a little bit. He has allowed only 1.7% of snaps in pass protection in 2025 as far as allowing pressure. He is a very good offensive lineman. He was 5th best among SEC tackles and was a third-team all-conference selection. Very nice get for Kentucky. James Smith, a DT from Alabama. Another Bama player going to Ohio State. 1 year of eligibility left. It's kind of interesting seeing all these Bama players going to Columbus. DJ Lagway, the quarterback at Florida. We've already talked about him going to Baylor. He's cut down on his interceptions. Dylan Raiola leaving Nebraska for Oregon. Here's a running back. Move my list up here. I just realized. I need to take that graphic off. I apologize. All right, let me find. I just had it here. Okay. Raleek Brown, running back from Arizona State. He's on his way to Texas. He's got 1 year left. Texas lost a couple of running backs, so just reload. Caleb Hawkins, the stud running back at North Texas, headed to Oklahoma State with his old coach, Eric Morris. He had 223 yards in the bowl win we just talked about. He led the FBS running backs with 63 broke tackles. That's insane. That's phenomenal. He also had 983 rushing yards after contact. He had over 1,800 yards from scrimmage, 29 total touchdowns. This young man was a beast his freshman year at UNT, and I think he's going to do great in the Big 12. DeAndre Moore Jr., receiver at Texas, he's gone to Colorado to play for Coach Prime. Let's see. He had a 114-yard game against Georgia. Next up, we've got Ian Jafar, DT from Arkansas. He's on his way to Texas. Sorry about that. All right, next up, Amarius Williams, edge rusher from Auburn, headed to Georgia at 24, 23. Another one I'm very interested to see, Reed Harris, a receiver out of Boston College. He's on his way to Arizona State with 2 years of eligibility left. He was a 3-star gem out of Montana. That's interesting. He was a 2-year starter for BC, had 57 catches, 1,161 yards. He also caught 9 touchdowns. He had 28.6 yards a catch in 2024. So he's a former All-ACC receiver. Okay, Isaiah Horton from Alabama. He went to A&M. He got 1 year left. He's another good receiving threat for the Aggies. Trey Richardson, a receiver from Vanderbilt, headed to Louisville. He's got a year left. Let's see. He spent a year at Hudson Community College, a year at D2 Washburn. And then in the SEC, he had 1,295 all-purpose yards, 7 touchdowns as a receiver and a kick returner for the Commodores. Now he's headed to Louisville to play for Brian Braun. Justice Haynes, a running back at Michigan. He's headed to Georgia Tech with 1 year of eligibility left. As we all know, Georgia Tech loves to run the football, so I'm very excited to see how that goes. Number 19, another running back, Hollywood Smothers of NC State. He's on his way to Texas. He was going to go to Alabama, but that changed. Let's see. Less than a week after verbally committing to Bama, he flipped and went to Texas. So he was a first-team All-ACC running back with 11.28 from scrimmage and 7 total touchdowns. Nice pickup for the Longhorns. Rocco Beck, the Iowa State QB, headed to Penn State. We talked about him. Let's see. Josh Hoover, we talked about him. Byron Brown, we talked about him. All right. Trey White, good edge rusher. Another G5 player going to Texas Tech that I'm interested to see. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. He had 41 pressures this year, ranked in the top 10 among all G5 defenders. He was a 2-time captain for the Aztecs. Yeah. He had 29 tackles for loss and 19.5 sacks in back-to-back seasons with the Aztecs. Then you've got Nick Marsh, receiver at Michigan State. He's on his way to Indiana. I love this move. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. I think he is going to gel in Kurt Cignetti's offense. He's a former ESPN 300 recruit out of Detroit. He had over 100 catches, 1,311 yards, 9 touchdowns in 2 seasons with the Spartans. And now he goes to Indiana. That's going to be fun to watch. Marion Miller, he's next up. Another receiver going to Arizona State. He's coming from Colorado. He was a 4-star recruit. He did have a 197-yard game against USC as a freshman in 2023. In 2025, he had 808 yards and 8 touchdowns as a second-team All-Big 12 performer, and now he's headed to the desert. All right, some more of these players. Here we go. All right, this was another one. Chaz Coleman, edge rusher. He's out of Penn State, going to Tennessee. His old defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, is on the move to Knoxville, so I kind of, no surprise here. I think we expected some Penn State deflections to Tennessee on the defensive side. He's got 3 years of eligibility left. He played 144 snaps at Penn State with 12 pressures, 3 tackles for loss, and a strip sack. Yeah, he should fit in well in Knoxville. Then also on the edge, John Henry Daly from Utah. He's on his way to Michigan. Of course, he's following Kyle Whittingham. Very excited for Michigan next season. Let's see. He was an All-American in his first year as a full-time starter with Utah. He was top 5 nationally in tackles for loss, 17.5, 11.5 sacks. He did play 11 games before a season-ending injury, so hopefully he can come back healthy. He also logged the 4th best pressure rate among edge rushers at 19.6 among all of them last season. Interesting. Number 10, I believe, is Corey Perch. This is another one. I had this in my notes. He is a safety out of Minnesota. He's headed to Oregon with 2 years of eligibility left. He was a freshman All-American for the Gophers. And obviously with Dylan Thiemann headed to the NFL, Oregon needed a replacement. They got him. I love this hire. Not hire. I'm an idiot. I love this get for the Ducks. He was a freshman All-American, first team All-Big Ten after grabbing 5 picks his first year. And in his sophomore year, he was actually a 3-way player for the Gophers. He took snaps at receiver, and he also had 600-plus yards for returning kickoffs and punts. So he can do a little bit of it all for Oregon if need be. But this is a great get for the Ducks and Corey Perch as he goes from Minnesota to Oregon. I love that move. Drew Mestemaker, the QB, we talked about him from North Texas, headed to Oklahoma State with Eric Morris. Then you see number 8, you got Damon Wilson, the second, an edge rusher out of Missouri. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. Very explosive, relentless edge rusher. Some thought he might would go to the draft, but he decided to get in the portal. He has not committed to a new school yet. He might go back to Missouri. Don't know. He was at Georgia, then he transferred to Missouri. So we'll see what happens with Wilson. And then you've got Maiten Ibergubba. I can't say that last name. DT out of Wake Forest. He's going to Texas Tech. 1 year of eligibility left. If you haven't noticed yet, Texas Tech's worked their defensive line really strong again in the portal. He was a 2 year starter at FCS Georgetown, playing with. Then he went to the ACC in 2024. He redshirted last year. And then this year he had 21 tackles, 19 pressures, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble for Wake before moving on. And he had the third best pass rush grade among starting ACC defensive tackles. And now he's on his way to Lubbock to play for the Red Raiders. Jacarius Peak, offensive tackle at NC State. He's going to South Carolina, get with 1 year of eligibility left. If you watch South Carolina, you knew their offensive line was putrid. Lenore Sellers is back. Hopefully he's not going to be running for his life this time. Let's see. He made the move to left tackle in 2025 for the Wolfpack and has surrendered only 4 sacks and more than 1,100 career snaps in pass protection. That's interesting. He'll have an opportunity to play his way into early round pick status by coming back. But he was a 3-star recruit and all ACC recognition as a junior. I love this pickup, though, for South Carolina. Talked about Darren Mensah, the quarterback at Duke. Jordan Seaton, we talked about him, the big offensive tackle from Colorado. He has 2 years of eligibility left. Don't know where he's going yet. I've seen reports of several schools coming after him, but we'll see. Really good blocker. 2024 ESPN 300 prospect. 2-year starter, left tackle, and was second team All Big 12 as a sophomore. He only surrendered just 3 pressures and 0 sacks in pass protection. That's impressive. Let's see. Moving up, Sam Levitt. We talked about him going from Arizona State to LSU. He should shine. Cam Coleman, receiver at Auburn, gone to Texas. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. Another good get for the Longhorns. Let's see. He was number 5 recruit in 2024 ESPN 300. He has 93 catches, 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns over 2 seasons. At Auburn, he led them in receiving as a sophomore and proved he can take over games, including in their game against Vandy last year. He had 10 catches for 143. And now he's going to Texas, and he provides Arch Manning with another weapon. And then, of course, the top player, Brandon Sorsby. You know his story. He's phenomenal. He could shine here for $5 million, or he could flop. Who knows? Good get for Texas Tech, though. All right. So our final thing about the transfer portal, and I'm not really going to break this down too much, but I'm just going to show you from a site that had their transfer portal winners and losers. So here we go. This is according to Nick Broomberg. His transfer portal losers: Tennessee, they did take a hit on the offensive line. Alabama, yeah, they had a lot of departures. We don't know what's going to happen with Ty Simpson. I think he's going to the NFL, but we don't know. Alabama had a lot of losses, though. Iowa State, that was no surprise. They lost, I think, 20 players, and most of them went to Penn State. Utah, as expected, some losses. They lost some guys to Michigan. And, of course, Colorado at the top of the list. They had some tough losses, but Colorado's in a little bit of a rebuild, so we'll see what happens there. All right. And then the winners of the transfer portal, according to this man, Virginia Tech, yeah, James Franklin killed it. His first portal class, he's got some Penn State guys coming in there and some other additions. I'm very interested to see how they do. Indiana, no shock. They work the portal great every year. They got their quarterback for next year. They got a new receiver that's going to shine. They got help on the edge, on the D line, and the offensive line. Indiana's not going anywhere. Louisville, Brian Brom, he works the portal really good. Texas, of course, they got help at receiver. They got help at running back. Texas is going to be fine. And then Texas Tech, they're always working the portal good. They throwing that money around. But no, Texas Tech, great portal class, especially that defensive line, and then getting Brendan Sorsby at quarterback. So that is your winners and losers of the transfer portal. All right, so let's Get ready. We're going to take one final break here real quick, guys. And then when we come back, I got one thing left for y'all. I got to pick the national championship game. And then we'll see y'all again tomorrow. All right. So we will be back in just a second.
Look at me, you're lost at sea, circling eternally. Come and help me from this insanity. Where am I disgraced? I hate to see your face. I wanna see you drown in your sorrow. You know I know I'm not the same. I'm fading away. I'm falling into my grave.
Okay. All right, guys. Welcome back. 4th and 25. Well, guys, we've reached the pinnacle. We are here at the finish line. We got one thing left to do on this show today. And the season's about to be over. It's our last game. It's the national championship. Number 1, Indiana. Number 10, Miami. They were number 10 seed in the playoff. It all comes down to this. Who is going to walk out of Miami as the national champion? Is Miami going to stay at home as national champion because it's on their home field? All right. So let's talk a little bit about how these two teams got here. Defense, and defense for Miami. Their defense has been phenomenal in this playoff, especially against A&M, against Ohio State. Their ball control against Ole Miss was incredible. They're not going to wow you fancy on offense, but they will run the football. They will play keep away. Carson Beck is clutch, whether you like him or you don't. I know he rubs some people the wrong way, but he's still a good player. But their defense is what's led that team. And here they are. Indiana. I cannot find a flaw with Indiana. I have not seen anything wrong with this team. They're fundamentally sound. They don't make mistakes. Mendoza is incredible. His running back is good. He's got the weapons. They're phenomenal in the trenches. It's almost like perfect. It's like kind of like Saban and his Bama teams back in the day. But anyway, so one little stat. In their 3 close wins, Indiana against Penn State, which obviously came down to the end, Iowa, which was close, and of course the 3-point win over Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. In those 3 wins, Indiana was held to 3.5 yards per carry or below. If you can hold them there, you might have a really good shot. Some stats. Miami, let's look at that offense. 409 yards a game, 31.6 points. They're throwing for about 254.6. 154.6 rushing yards per game. They're averaging 156 in the playoff per game. Third down conversions are 47.6%. Fourth down, 66.7%. Indiana, 50% on third down. Indiana's 50% on fourth down. I'm sorry. 58.2% on third down. So Indiana, really good third down conversion rate. Let's look at their offense. They're scoring 42.6 per game. They're averaging 461 on offense, 242.7 passing, 218.3 rushing. So offensive comparison, obviously, is going to be Indiana with the advantage. Time of possession. Both these teams love to keep the ball, as we saw what Miami did against Ole Miss. Miami 33 minutes and 42 seconds. Indiana 33 minutes and 17 seconds. Now, flip over to the defense. These are 2 really good defenses. Scoring defense. Miami, 14 points per game, if you round it off, I guess. Indiana, 11.1 points per game. Indiana shuts you down. They cut you at the knees. They wear you down, and they take your soul. That's how good they are. Total defense. Indiana, 260.9 yards allowed per game. Miami, a little worse, 292.6. Pass defense. Miami, 206 yards allowed. Indiana, 185.9. Rushing defense. Both these teams love to stop the run. They are both phenomenal. They're both top 10. I think Miami's top 10. But anyway, Miami, 86.5 yards per game. Indiana allows 75 yards a game rushing. That is unreal. This team, oh my gosh. Top 5 sack teams. Miami has 47 sacks, which is number 1 in the country, I believe. Indiana's 45, so they're not far behind them. Both these teams can sack the quarterback. Okay, so after reading that tale of the tape, this is going to be a hell of a football game. I am super, super, super excited to see this. There's people out there who think Indiana's going to run away with it quickly. I'm not in that camp, even though I know they're capable of it. They are very capable of doing this. This is going to be a good football game, though. Miami's on their home field, but I still think there's going to even be more Indiana fans than Miami fans. Yeah, you heard that right. Indiana fans travel really, really good. Um, to me, if Indiana jumps up on them, it's over quick. But Miami's going to have to play keep away like they did against Ole Miss. They're going to have to, and then their defense is going to have to get to Mendoza. Can they? Absolutely. Who's going to win that edge at the line of scrimmage? Miami's a little heavier at the line than Indiana is. But, guys, I'm just going to predict this is going to be a good football game. The line is now 7.5. I think that's about right, if you want my honest opinion. I'm taking Indiana to win this football game. They have been the story of college football. Why go against them? I think you're crazy to even go against them, possibly. But Miami can win this football game. I would not be shocked. But I think Indiana is going to win a close one. 27-20, Hoosiers are your national champions. That's my prediction. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be physical. I think it's going to be some good matchups to watch individually. But give me Indiana 27, Miami 20, and the Hoosiers are your national champions. Whew. All right. So let's see what happens. We'll enjoy it. We are just under 4 hours from kickoff. Yeah. All right, guys. Guys, this has been a great show today. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I see I got 22 viewers. That is a new personal record for me. Thank you guys so much. Y'all are awesome. We're going to close this show like we always do with a Bible verse. But before we do that, I have a small announcement. I will be back tomorrow. We are going to do a show tomorrow afternoon, maybe at lunchtime if I can. But we're going to do a show tomorrow. We're going to look back on this national championship game. We're going to look back on the season as far as the conferences go. Maybe we'll get some playoff news. I don't know. Just going to give some final thoughts on the year. And then I'm gonna go dark for a couple of weeks and give myself a break and take a breather. But we got one more show tomorrow, so 2 shows in 2 days. Let's get after it. All right, Psalm 133, verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Good verse. Please dwell together in unity. All right, guys. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe out there. If you're not a fan of winter, if you're not a fan of the cold, then get warm. I love cold, but that's me. Everybody stay warm, stay safe out there. Enjoy the national championship game tonight. I know we're going to. Regardless of who wins, it's been a great season. It's crazy that it's fixing to be over, even though the national championship game is way too late in January, if you want my honest opinion. But it is what it is. Guys, thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Please take care of yourselves, and may God bless.